Hi, I'm Ricky Kinney. Let me ask you a question. What is something that makes you a much happier person? One way that none of us would probably ever answer that question is being critical of others. In fact, constantly complaining, being critical of other people causes us to be much less happy and have much less joy and peace. Complaining actually it releases a chemical in your brain, cortisol, and it causes you stress and high blood pressure. Being critical of others and complaining trains your brain to just complain more. It makes it easier for you to do that more and more, and it makes you more unhappy, maybe even more lonely, because nobody wants to be around somebody that's super critical or less joyful. And even though we want to be more happy, we want to be a more joyful person, being critical of others is something that's just really easy to do. Whether that is just in our minds that we're being critical of them, or behind their back, or being critical on social media. So what leads us to be critical of others? Part of that is just we approach life with a me first mindset, which leads us to just feel entitled. We think that we're always right. We think that we deserve better. We like to glamorize ourselves and villainize others. They're wrong. They're the problem. If they would just do this, if they would just stop that, that's what would solve everything. And while some of those thoughts might be true, none of us want to be a critical person. It doesn't only affect us in being less joyful, but it also damages the relationships that we have with others. And so Paul, he talks about this in the book of Philippians. In chapter 2, he's encouraging them to be humble, to be unified, to have love for one another, to think about other people before they think about themselves. In verse 15, he tells them to shine as lights in the world. But right before that, he points out what would hinder them from being unified, what would hinder them from being lights in the world. And this is what he says in verse 14. He says, "Do all things without grumbling or disputing. Do everything without complaining, continually criticizing others. Do everything without continually arguing with other people." So how do we live that out? How do we not complain about others and criticize people all the time? Well, in Philippians 4, I think Paul has something in mind for us. In verse 2, he mentions a conflict between two ladies and wants them to agree in the Lord and to remember their common faith in Jesus. Then in verse 8, Paul says this. He says, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things." A big part of criticizing others is what you're focusing on. Or you're focusing on what is wrong with them. What do you think you deserve? But we're encouraged here in Philippians to focus and think about good things, to focus about whatever is true, whatever is lovely or commendable. We could focus on the negative, but we're to meditate and give thanks for what is good. The biggest way to combat complaining and being critical is this. It's giving thanks. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says this, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." Give thanks to God for the people in your life. Thank God for them in specific ways. Not that we can't say something is wrong with the situation or maybe what somebody has done, but gratitude changes your perspective. It changes your heart. Giving thanks helps you see people as people, not just problems. Giving thanks focuses you on what God is doing, what He has done, rather than what you think He isn't doing. You see people and life more as gifts from God. You begin to look at what is good rather than what is wrong. So here are a couple challenges. One, give thanks to God for people every day. Thank God for the people in your life and what He's doing in them, what He's done through them. Next thing is tell people what you're thankful about them for. Write a note, send a text. Once a week, write them something to communicate to them what it is that you're thankful for them about. So think about it. Think about it today. Who are you thankful for? Go tell God. Go tell them and go win today.